Hey everyone, Eggman here with another video. And this past weekend, there was a large Japanese event that happened in Tokyo, which not only is the format a little bit different for how the tournament works, which we're going to go over in a minute, but you also can kind of tell like some of the decks that are topping are completely different that's happening in North America and the English version of the Gundam card game. So even though we have the exact same card pool, there's some big differences between regions, which I think is really interesting, and I'm excited to go over in this video today. But real quick, before we do, if you guys are new to the channel, please make sure to hit that like and subscribe. We make a lot of content for the Gundam card game. I don't want you guys to miss it. Also, if you guys want deck lists for this event or many others, you can find them on my website, Eggman Events, which is linked in the description, and it's what we're using today as well. But starting off this video, so we did have 7 rounds of Swiss into a top 64 essentially, and then each of these in the top 64, it was 8 pods of 8 or 8 blocks of 8. So essentially it was 3 rounds of single elimination, and then the winner of each one of those blocks are going to worlds essentially. So it's a little bit different. So pretty much what happens is that like you can go X1 in like Swiss and you were able to get into the top 64, and then after that it was single elimination. So from that we do know the 64 deck colors that people were playing. So in that top 64 there were 25 copies of blue green, 18 copies of blue white, 10 blue red, 10 copies of green white, and then a single red white, which ended up winning one of the events since our top 8 for this one. So again, these are the decks that were able to go 3-0 in their blocks after Swiss, were 3 copies of the blue-green Zeon aggro, 2 copies of the blue-white freedom blockers, 1 copy of red-white justice blockers, a blue-white Earth Federation kind of tempo deck, and then also just a good old reliable blue-red Cyber-Newtype. So a big difference from what we've been seeing here in North America from the events that I've been able to cover. No copies of Wing Zero into the at least 3-0. They didn't win any of the blocks. And then also no copies of like any unicorn. There wasn't a single copy of Unicorn Gundam in any of the topping deck lists. There are some blue white, but generally speaking, it was not present, which I find really, really interesting. So again, like if you look at the events that we've been covering, a lot of North America events and just English version in particular, you'll see that there's just Wing is present. Wing is here in almost every event. It's won a lot of events here. We also do see like again Unicorn maybe not do as well as Wing, but still present, right? Like any event that I've really covered, you know, that deck's been at least there's been at least a copy of Unicorn Gundam somewhere in the top 8 kind of thing. So I think that's really, really fascinating to see the difference from there. Also, I think a big difference is just how present the green and blue aggressive deck and you know, Zeon archetype is in Japan. And I really don't know if it's just kind of like a popularity difference too. I do know that like the OG series is a little bit more popular in Japan. I know there's a lot of people who love Wing as like as an IP or just like as like the series more in North America too. So I don't know how that warps it at all, if that's a factor for it, but it's clearly different meta over there despite again having the exact same card. So I think that's really cool. But we're going to go over all 8 deck lists for this one, and again if you guys want to check them out yourself, you can find them on Eggman Events in the description. But we're going to start off with our 3 copies of the blue and green you know, Zeon aggro builds that we have. So we've got Haruki with their build here, we've got Ray with their build here, and Sho-Chan with their build here as well. But generally speaking, I know looking at all 3 of these, there's generally some pretty understood cards for this deck, right? Char Zaku 2 is pretty common, whether it be the super rare from the star deck or the rare from the set. I think both these cards have been very good. And honestly, this is kind of the identifier for the deck. If you feel like you're running enough Zeon cards for this card to hit reliably, that kind of shows me that it's more of a Zeon leaning deck for that sense. Obviously, we're also playing Char, and we do have to kind of buff out the deck with a couple of, you know, Earth Federation cards as well. So we're playing the Gym as well as the Gun Tank to kind of complement the fact that we're also playing the Zaku 2, both of these ones as well. Generally, I've been seeing people play kind of a DOP in this deck too, just like a really good 1-drop to play if you end up going first, and help you with just very minusculely, but help you with a little bit of your consistency. But I don't think anyone played that in any of the winning decks either. We did have like a copy of Zaku 1 from Star Deck 3 to play on 1, but other than that, not any of those kind of cards too. So the other cards that I've been seeing is that most everyone that at least who did well are changing to Corsica base, right? I really do like this card if you are playing low to the ground aggro. Not only is the 4/2 body pretty good for what it is, but being able to make 2 1/1s in any deck that's pretty much not Wing makes it a little bit difficult to like effectively handle that, right? It's one card that generates not only a card draw from playing, its deploy effect from drawing a card from your shields, but being able to make 2/1/1s late game is actually really, really good if all you need is more attacks, right? I think cards with Char just makes it like this card is so good at getting rid of bases, right? If you put this with a Char Zaku 2, either one of them, you were just like almost guaranteed to remove a base, and the high maneuver you get from Char is really, really handy in those situations. So other than that, I think that we have some pretty standard cards. Rick Dom's been mildly present as well. Just being able to use this as like a breach 2 is really nice. The fact that it has like a 3/3 stat body is just really great too. If you're playing against something that's playing the Zawart, all you have to do is like one, like even with Zawart, right? The breach 2 still comes through, but then also if you need to, you can also just like put a pilot underneath this, and then having 4 HP is a little bit difficult to handle in the mid game as well. And then lastly, I think we're just seeing this, but you're also probably noticing there's been a pretty big lack of Char's Gelgoog as well, right? I think a lot of people are saying this is the card for the deck. This is where we win a lot of games, but I think the part of the issue with this card is that it's the slowest card on curve for this deck, right? You are almost never able to play it on 4 and then use the effect to get a Char from it. I think most people are just saying, you know what, I'd rather just get the pressure early game and then just eventually get that extra damage for you. So I think I would probably play 1 copy of this card, maybe 2. I would not play more than 2 of it in this current meta right now, but it is really interesting to see the lack of this card in general. So lastly, we do see a couple people play Show Resolve at anywhere from 1 to 3 copies. I think 2 is likely fine. As there are some times where we do just need to find Char and try to draw it a little bit more. We do have some cards coming in GDO2 that I think would replace Show Resolve in that sense with the it's the one that looks top 3 and draws 1 if you have a Cyber-Newtype. That whatever that card's name, I can't remember it right now, but that's definitely a card I think to consider moving forward for this deck to help you just find Char a little bit more easy. So these are the builds here, and congratulations to our blue-green Zeon players. The next up, we've got 2 copies of blue and white Freedom blockers, so which are still like pretty unique compared to some different lists we've seen. So we've got Chirami as well as fijieee with their builds of the decks here. And again, there's no unicorns in either of these builds, right? There's been, I think, a lot of temptation for a lot of people playing blue and white to add that card to help that consistently be there. But you also notice that this is the first time I've ever seen this card in a deck. I'm like, is this a GDO2 card that they snuck in or something? No, this is a set 1 card. And it's really interesting because it is a level 2 cost. There's nothing that it links with, but having this 2/3 stat line can be really handy at like trading, specifically into like Zeon decks, right? There's so many decks that are playing like 2/2s that being able to play this as a 2/3, get a trade, and then maybe pressure something else later, I think is worth the inclusion that it has been in this deck. We do have like generally the strike package, right? We do have the Sword Strike Gundam, which I know this card's getting really, really popular, especially with so many people playing Corsica base right now. The fact that this lets you just get rid of the token for very little cost is really, really handy. And the fact that it's links with Earth Alliance as well as just Kira, right? So the fact that I know a lot of people are playing copies of Hawk of Endymion as well to help you get that additional link for the effect there. Ailstrike Gundam, I've kind of decided is like one of the best cards in the game right now. I think Gundam with Amuro has been very, very strong, but the fact that if my opponent sees this on curve, the fact that they're able to essentially get rid of 2 bodies likely and then like pressure a 3rd is really, really, really handy. Just kind of stops a lot of aggressive decks in their spots. It's difficult for them to want to try to remove this, and then this is just really good at removing cards on your turn because of the AP minus that you get from Kira. So I think this card's been very, very good in the situations it's been there. So other than that, a couple tech cards that I've been seeing for this too. One also, like Japan just generally plays as less bases, right? I'd say that in North America, a lot of people are playing like 4 to 5. Japan plays like 3 to 4 most of the time. I've been seeing, generally speaking, a lot less than usual. Well, that's not like a hard rule, but for this stack, like we're only playing 3 Archangels, right? We're not playing even 4. No copies of Corsica base are white base, 2 bases that I think have been really popular in blue-white decks in general. But just playing the Archangel, I think, is really interesting for this one. So we are playing again Freedom Gundam. We are also splashing a couple extra LRs. So we have Gundam Aerial Rebuild, which I love this card. I think this card is really cool, but I think that it's just a little bit slow for the amount of value that you get from it. The fact that we do get like the Striker Pack, Show Resolve, or Overflowing Affection, all good cards back into our hand is really, really handy. But I just feel like sometimes we don't have the time to play this. And most of the time that we would play this, we might have wanted to play the Freedom or something else. But it is like a generally a good card, right? The fact that it's a 6/6 that also gets a resource back, right? If you play it, the turn you play it, you can put Sleta underneath it. Get the show of affection back to your hand attack, get the resource back, and then play the overflowing affection. That's like not bad, right? I think that's just standard, but sometimes this can be a little bit bulky and bricky, which is kind of tough. But I do think that playing Soletta in this deck is good. This having the +1/+2 stat line is really really handy at making sure that your bodies are a little bit healthier throughout the game. So lastly, we do have the swag copy of the Justice Gundam. I love this card too, and we don't have any way to link with this card, right? Atherin is only a red pilot right now, and we're a blue and white deck. But the fact that it's a card that plays a blocker is good enough, I think, in these situations. And then also, it's not going to happen in this build since we're only playing the one, but the during pair attack ability can happen. So if you play this on turn 7 and then you play another one on turn 8, you can have this first one paired and attack with it, and then you can get the token that the other one played to attack as well. You can give that one the one that can attack the turn. So that can happen. It can happen in this build, but again, like the fact that this does generate 2 bodies off of 1 is kind of good enough, I think, to play generically in decks like this. And we'll also see more of it in the future. So we do see this one playing 4 whole copies of it, which is insane, right? For a blue-white deck to only play 2 copies of Freedom, but say I have enough time to play all of this Justice Gundam and be able to do that. I do think that's also something that's particular to not seeing as much Wing Zero, right? The fact that Wing Zero can just, on 7 I'll play this, and then they'll say, well, on my 8 I'll just get rid of it, right? Like that's tough to see. That's tough to justify, I think, sometimes. But in a meta where that's less popular, I think that Justice Gundam can shine, and it's still a really really good value card without even without the link for it. So the only other card I will mention is the Nahal Argama. So Nal Argama. Sorry, I promised I watched Unicorn. All right, but deploy. Add 1 card from your shoots to your hand, then choose 1 enemy unit with 3 or less HP and rest it. So it's interesting to see this card as the base of choice for the deck. It's not bad, right? It's the fact that it's like a base version of Amuro without having to it's hits 3 or less instead of 5 or less, but early game that can help you get some trades, right? I think like in a situation where you're not playing Unicorn, right, there are some situations where you need to be able to get rid of a couple earlier bodies, which is great. The fact that also this can deploy Alpha Shields and then just rest another card that your opponent was thinking of attacking with, or even just played that turn, can be helpful enough to get some value trades for you. So I think that has potential for it. It is an interesting tech ad for it, but I don't think it's outrageous to play this card. Though I don't see this usually get placed over cards like Archangel, White Base, and Corsica Base as mentioned before. So here are the builds here. Congratulations to our blue and white Freedom players. So we've got 3 decks left, and we do have an actual deck that plays Justice that can link with it, which is pretty cool. But this is more of like a seed red-white deck, since we're also playing like the strike package as well. But I've been really really trying to find some success with the red and white package, and it's been really really tough because I find that the consistency isn't always there. Atherin is really really good on if you're able to play it with an Aegis Gundam on 4, which we are playing additional 2 copies of the star deck LR, which again, it's so funny that the LR is generally worse than the common that we get from the same starter. This card just having breach 3, which means you're able to get rid of an EX base. The fact that with Atherin's when linked effect lets you pretty much attack and trade with anything on curve and then get rid of the EX base is really really nice. All of that's just fantastic for the deck in general. But when you don't see this, you definitely feel kind of the consequences of it. We are playing like more of this Earth Alliance stuff. So again, 3 copies of Sword Strike, 4 copies of Ale Strike, 2 copies of Perfect Strike Gundam, and the Sword Strike and the Perfect Strike can also link with Mula Flaga as well. So having 2 copies of that makes sense as well. We do have 2 copies of Sleta. Again, this card is just the stat line that it gives you, the +2 HP is so good, especially since you essentially get to do it for free. And there are some situations where if we are able to make Gundam Ilfrit a 6 HP blocker, it means that cards like Amuro can't rest it if they're trying to go for game or something like that. So I think that is important enough. So, but we are playing 4 copies of Justice Gundam, right? So the hope being that we can just continually play it late game and just get all these attacks that we're able to kind of compound, which is really, really good. We do have like Kira, we do have our bases of the Visalis at at 4, and then the Hockey Vendemian and Overflowing. I do think like this card only having a 4 AP with the link is tough, so being able to bump it up to 5 I think is good enough. Obviously, Aegis Gundam being able to get rid of something or deal some 3 damage to something with 5 or more AP does come up, I think, quite a bit, but the fact that it's such a weird condition. It's such a tough condition to make this sometimes, since it's level 5 or higher. But being able to do damage to Ale Strike can be kind of handy, even if they had like an AP minus and only they took 2 damage earlier. The fact that you can like Aegis get rid of it is good, but it's obviously just a concession for consistency that I find for this one. So other than that, this is a really cool build. I definitely have to try it out myself. And congratulations to Takuan for their finish with this one. Then next up, we've got a blue-white kind of Earth Federation. I'd say like kind of tempo. I don't think it's like necessarily aggro, but it's really not control, right? But we're, at the same time, our top card is Ale Strike Gundam. And again, like so many people, I mean, like I know that Amuro Ray and Gundam is a really, really good link pair, but the fact that, so many people are like, you know what, Sword Strike Gundam and Ale Strike Gundam and Kira are all we need. It's really telling to see that that's been a really, really popular combination and very, very strong, at least in the Japanese meta. So this honestly doesn't have anything too flashy. I think you're just playing a lot of tempo cards. We are playing like the Pisces. It's just like a 1-drop, 1/2. In these situations, we have our Earth Federation stuff. We're not playing any Jigans for like the reduced cost since it doesn't look like we need them. But we are playing the Demi Garrison as well as the Jim. We do have 4 copies of the Star Deck Gundam as well as the Vanilla Gundam. And then we do have the Amuro, the Kira, and no copies of Show Resolve either. We're just saying that Corsica base is good enough to get us there. And I do think that in this build in particular, compared to maybe some more like lower to the ground, is that a lot of our units just have so much HP that it is kind of tricky to effectively remove them, at least without like removing our own cards in the same place. So I think that's super strong. I still think Ale Strike Gundam has been very, very good if you're able to see Kira on curve with it. Even in this deck, right, you're able to kind of get like if you just have Ale Strike on the board, you're able to do like Amuro, so you're able to rest something and then bounce something back to hand too. So being able to get rid of 2 cards for 1 card, at least for the turn, is good enough in some situations to go for game 2. So I think that's really, really strong. I think this deck is obviously just very, very tempo oriented, but if your opponent doesn't have like the fact that you can trade into early game against aggro very nicely is good, and the fact that you might be too fast, they're too fast for like some late game decks, means that I think this has it's a really interesting build as well. So here's Chariko's build, and then lastly we've got Kaito's build of red blue new type. So generally speaking, this is probably the deck that I have the most experience with, and this is pretty dang close to the builds that I've been playing personally ever since Gen Con back in the beginning of August, late September. But the big thing that I would say for this one is that we are playing 4 copies of Show Resolve as well as 3 copies of Phasaelis and 3 copies of Corsica base. So we do have the potential for a lot of late game card draw with these, right? The fact that we're playing 6 bases is a little high, but obviously half the bases make a unit and the other half buff our units. So the fact that Phasaelis is just so flexible in this deck. The fact that we are able to get that +1 is very good. Generally, right now, I play a 3-2 split of Phasaelis and Corsica base, so I think this is fine. I know people have been trying some other pilots as well, which I think is, I think this is like an 8 pilot for this build is fine for what we do. Show Resolve at 4 is like a little bit expensive because you want to see it, but if you see 2 copies in your hand at some point, you're like, I could have been playing bodies. So I think 3's generally been the sweet spot for me, but I think this is not, this isn't terrible in any way. And then we do have like, again, the Rizal, the Angsha, gun tank, right? Being able to do like a lot of incremental damage. We have the Kshatriya. We don't have any of the vanilla Kshatriya, which I'm still a big fan of that card, especially in our meta where we have so much wing 0. The fact that it does have 4 HP is really, really handy, but I do like this one, right? But we're also playing like, what is it? So many 2-drops, right? We're playing 11 copies of Jim, Zaku Mariner, and Jin respectfully across the 3. So the fact that it's very, very common for us to be able to say, turn 1, Jim, if we're going first, turn 1 Jim, turn 2 Zaku Mariner, Jin, like the fact that we're just able to put so many bodies early, and then if we find the Gundam with the Amuro, we're able to boost all of them to 3 AP, which is able to pressure an EX base. Amuro could also like rest and attack into an Ilfrit and then heal up the damage, and then your opponent just has to really stare down a really nasty board of all these bodies here. So I think that's one way to play the deck too. This is probably like the lowest to the ground version I've seen of it, but it definitely does work, and congratulations to Kaito for their finish there. But that's going to be it for this one. If you guys again are new to the channel, please make sure to hit that like and subscribe. We make a lot of content for the Gundam card game, and I'm looking forward to seeing what the rest of this meta kind of looks like, right? We do have our first big event in North America at Bandai Bandai Card Fest, which is coming up this weekend. We also do have Star Deck 5 legal for next month as well, which we have 2 big events in Pasadena and Canada, respectively, too. And I think that that's going to be really cool to see the differences as well. So that's going to be it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. And I'll catch you all next time.
Damn it. Damn it.